Hi, my name is Sharika, and I wanted to walk you through one of my initial projects that I completed when I was going through my certification full stack web development program. So this was a password generator. It was one of the first projects that we had in the course. And so we built it using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'm going to walk you through this. So basically it generates a random password based on parameters or criteria, which is probably the better word, that the user sets up. So I really like my README here, so I just want to show you this. So I put visuals on my README back in the day. I also used to, put GIFs. So that's cool. It's back when I used to do that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start at the HTML file. So what this is doing is, saying that this is an HTML file, and then of course you're setting up your head, and this is the metadata that is not visible to the user, right? So it's just setting up all of the things that you need, whether it's your style sheets, any type of Google fonts, any type of metadata about the screen that the person is using, anything like that. All that information goes into the head up here. And then of course in your body, this is going to be information that is actually going to be visible to the user, the things that they can see. And so what I have here is a header, and then I have a card and an H2 heading, and then the text area where the password is actually going to show up, and you'll see that. And this is an important one. So we have this ID here of generate, and so this is what's going to be really tied to a lot of the action of the generation of the password. Once somebody clicks on this button, then all of the JavaScript is going to start firing off, and we've tied the JavaScript here in this script tag. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the script file, and we'll walk through that. Okay, so basically this is the why am I coming up blank? I know this. This is good God. This is my variable. I know this word, right? And I've named it generate button. And what it's going to equal to is that document.query selector. So you're going to the document. This is and you're going to select over on the document in the HTML file what you have labeled that ID. That's what this symbol, pound sign symbol, comes in, and the generate. And that's that button that I talked about when I talked about the ID. And so then in here we have this function, and we've named this function generate password. And the function is just a set of code instructions that you can reuse and call within your code. All right, so we're setting this function up here to generate the password. I have a debugger here, which I should have let that go, but we doing? I mean, we have what we have here. So we're setting up the variables. And so we have a generator password, which is blank right now because we're going to be generating it based off of the criteria that the individual is going to declare. And so we have a possible lowercase. So all these are lowercase letters. I put it in a string. You can split those up. Possible uppercase, all the uppercase letters, and splitting those up. And then we have possible numeric, which is actually equal to an array of numbers. I don't know why I have 0 in here. Again, it's already right here. Whatever. So possible special characters. Again, I did this a while ago. So this is me just revisiting my code and just thinking about ways that I can improve and, looking at what I did. And so possible special characters, we have all the characters here, and we can split those up because that's in a string. I mean, obviously, if we put those in an array, we didn't have to split those up, but here we are. So then within this function, we're going to collect the user's responses, and we're going to have them confirm those, and we're going to use alerts. And these are going to be little pop-ups that come up, and you'll see those once we get to the deployed application. So letting lowercase equals the confirm whether or not they want those. So if they do want lowercase, then we're going to have an alert confirm that yes, it'll include it. If not, it'll just say, okay, you don't want those. And we'll do that but for the lowercase, the uppercase, the numeric, as well as the special characters. Now, if we don't have if we don't have any of the things, you have to have at least one character type to make up your password. So that's what this else if is saying. So it's saying else if you don't have lowercase and you don't have uppercase and you don't have numeric and you don't have special, then we're going to send out another alert, and then we're going to take you right back to the start of this. And the start of this is the prompts, because you have to pick something, right? So then what we're going to do is declare another variable here that says entered length, and this is going to be a prompt getting the number of characters the user wants within their password. And then we have to parse the integer, because when you put in like something into the prompt, it's not automatically going to identify that as a number. It's going to identify it as a string. So you want to parse that integer and make it an actual integer, whatever the person puts in. So we're saying that we're going to take that entered length that the person puts in, whether it's 8 or between 128 characters, and we're going to make it an integer, convert it from a string into an integer number, right? And so we're going to confirm you have chosen so-and-so characters in your password. And then what we're going to do is, if you don't do that, we need to give us the right number. And then we're actually going to generate the password, right? Again, if you don't, we're going to start you over if you don't pick the right number of characters there. And so then with the password length, again, we're going to just set up another one to make that an integer, right? And so we're going to take that's going to be down here. But the function is the password length met, right? And so what this is a function, and it's going to take in the password and the target length as parameters in this function. And then what we're going to do is return the password.length, and if it is strictly equal to the target length, okay? Because that's where we are checking to see if that is actually going to meet that length. Hold on, I'm not using that right here. I'm not using that up here. I'm going to use it later. So I'm just setting up this function here because I haven't used it yet. Oh yeah, I'm going to use it here. Okay. So what we're doing here is in this for loop, this is a for loop. And what this is saying is I is equal to 0. So we're going to start at 0, and most things in the language of JavaScript or any type of loop really starts at 0, because that's where computers start counting. They don't start from 1. And then we're going to say the I is less than 512. Now I hard coded this number in here, and I didn't want to hard code this number, but I remember specifically that I was having an issue using the formula or the thing that I came up with that was dynamic. So I had to hard code this because that's the number of, it's something mathematical, damn it. And then we're going to increment the I. So every time we go through this loop, so you get to the end of this loop, I starts at 0. When we go to the end and it increments 1, it'll start at 1, right? As long as it is less than 512, this loop will continue to go until it hits that 512. And it's like, let me stop. Okay. And so if we do have lowercase, what we're going to do is add that to the generated password, right? And so that we set that up here, and it's empty, right? So that means we're pushing whatever random choice based off of this possible lowercase. We're doing a math.floor method, and then we're wrapping the math.random, which just gives you a random number based off of the possible lowercase .length, right? And so if the password, this is where we're using this, is password length met, we're checking those parameters, which is going to be the generated password, right? And the password length that the individual selected. And we're going to see if those are acceptable, if they're matching, right? If they do match, then we're going to actually return the generated password that we created here. And we're going to do that for each of those. So if the person said, hey, I didn't want any lowercase, right? Then we're not going to do anything with this. We're going to move on and go to uppercase. If they didn't do uppercase, we're going to move on and go to a numeric, right? But if they did all 4, then it'll go through all of these and push them into the generated password until we reach the password is met length, right? And then we're gonna return the generated password out of this function. Now, this is not showing up on the user side just yet, but it will, and we're doing that in the function here. And so what this is getting the password in, writing the password to the password input on the front end. So we set up a function called write the password, and so we're setting up a variable where this is actually the function of generate password. This is where we're actually calling the function. We just set this function up, right? But we're actually calling this function in that area on the front. And so we're set up another variable. So when the actual document.query selector password we're actually supposed to generate, we're going to have that password text.value equal password, or whatever that password that came out of this function was. Okay, and of course we have an add event listener to generate the button, and what that does is we set that up at the top of the script file, where if you put on an add event listener, so you're listening for something to happen, and that event listener is a click. So when we click that button, what it's going to do is fire off this write password function, which also includes this generate function, and that's going to put that password onto the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the deployment of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go back here and I'll go to the deployed application. I don't know why this is acting foolish, because that is correct. So we'll do right. There it is right there. I don't know why it's acting crazy. All right, so here's the password generator here. So we're going to generate the password and we're going to click this button. Okay. So just talking about some improvements off rip. This is an alert. I don't like the way alerts look, so I could definitely use a modal. Just because it's cleaner. This is just weird, right? So this is where we're asking, if you remember, whether you want it to contain lowercase characters. You can say okay, and it'll say, all right, you chose lowercase. All right, you can do the same thing. I'll just do all of them just to show you. So it'll include all of those things. So if I want to do 10, let's just say I do 10. It's going to take that and it says you'll have 10, and it's confirming those selections, and then here you go with your password, right? Generate the password again, and what I'm going to do is just do one with special characters. So this is going to, I'm going to hit cancel on this, cancel on this, cancel on the numeric, and then I'm going to do okay to special characters, and I'm going to do 20. I'm going to hit okay, and then there you go. You have this. So again, some improvements that I would definitely make, or ways that I know that this can be improved, is I definitely don't like those alert pop-ups. I would prefer to do a modal. Another thing that I would love to do is add a copy button here, so you can just go ahead and copy it without you having to manually do this, and have that make a different function to do that. And then also on the other end of this with the code itself, now, again, this is one of my first projects, so this is a lot of code, and I know now about regex, which is regular expressions. So honestly, I probably use those, and this could probably be condensed to, you know, over half of this right here. But honestly, I feel like this was probably one of my most favorite projects because it has actual real world usage. So if I don't feel like, you know, generating a password myself, then I can come over here and do it instead of having Google do one for me. I can, you know, generate a strong password of my own. Maybe even set up some more parameters where it can be stronger. That could also be a different feature for this. But again, I'm more focused on like the actual experience on the front end that people interact with. So I definitely would love to put a modal and definitely a copy button on this. So feel free to check out any of my other projects on my GitHub repository. So I'll take you to my main page here. So you can see my link is github.com/ssbbgm. And I have some other repositories here, about 33. And then of course I have an overview of things that I like, my skills, and some pen projects that I will more than likely be doing a video for. So please hit me up if you're looking for a junior web developer or a junior ServiceNow admin developer, business analyst, anything of that nature. That would be awesome. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.